Yo,
Sir,
PK,
yes, sir.
how you doing?
I'm good, man. Sorry, I'm a little late. I was just out in the streets. My guy said he ran into to one of your peoples from Flatbush, and it was like we about to interview him.
Right.
I'm not sure who they bumped into, but
I'm not sure, man. We definitely are heavy in the community, so it could have been anywhere, anybody, man. That's good
yeah,
to hear, though. That's good to
yeah.
hear. Yo, my name is Sonny. They call me Sonny, man, and it's a pleasure to chop it up with you this evening.
Thank you for having me. Really honored to be here. This is home base. Flatbush, East Flatbush. Canarsie, Brownsville, and I know a lot of the folks who follow this page are from these neighborhoods, and so it's an honor
Yeah.
to be here and speak with your listeners.
It's definitely a must that we chop it up. We always chop it up with the local politicians, the people in the community on all levels. So this is almost like a rites to passage. Like this is a must. Like this is the community here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not just for you, for us, for all of us, because we're all one. And reading about you, man, one thing that was interesting to me, man, you said you always knew Brooklyn was gonna be your home, and that was someplace that you knew you would make home. What was it about Brooklyn? Explain to the people where you're from, and what was it about Brooklyn that you knew was gonna always be your home?
Yeah, man. It's interesting. Where I live right now, particularly East Flatbush, I'm on like Avenue D in the 40s. This area that I'm looking to represent is one of the largest concentrations of Caribbean Americans. People born in another Jamaican. I'm Jamaican. Both my parents came from Jamaica. But were born somewhere else, moved here, started a life, started a family, and now have roots in this community. And so when I thought about Brooklyn, it was always like, I was born and raised in New York. So this is home regardless. But I didn't move into Brooklyn until 2010 for college. And I knew that, I wanted to go where my people were, right? Where the jerk chicken was and the curry chicken and the rice and peas and the stuff where they would sell products for my hair, right? And so that was Brooklyn. That was the Black culture that I loved to embrace. And this was always home.
That's dope, man. That's dope. I feel you on that. I feel you on that. What's some of like the old West Indian Jamaican values that you think that you have in you from your parents and from your elders?
I like to share that one very frequently because a lot of people can relate. Hard work, and commitment to a vision. For instance, my parents came here with a hope and a dream, a few dollars in their pockets like many others, a little bit of family here and there, and they created something for themselves, right? Where I'm here now talking to you, 29 years old, running for the New York State Assembly. My parents worked hard to get me here. They worked hard to keep me out the streets.
They did a hell of a job, brother.
They worked hard to give me the education that I needed to be the young man that I am today. And so what I'm bringing into this space of advocacy and public service is I'm going to work hard and fight for this community. They haven't had a fighter in a while, in my opinion. And based on what I'm hearing and what we're seeing, results speak.
That's a fact. You definitely. I do a lot of research on people before I sit down with them. I like to dig, right?
Yeah.
So, but for you, it was a little different. I don't know if it's a an age thing or what, but you've been working hard. Like it's like, all right, where do I start? Like I can read from here to there. I can watch a video. So I'm like, all right, this guy's making it too easy here because usually, especially with politics, people have a lot of fluff out there.
Yeah.
I see an interview with you in a restaurant, sitting with a lady just feel like it was in a patty shop somewhere. I see you over here with Eric Adams. I see you over here in the community. So the hard work definitely shows, brother.
Yeah. And with the hard work, I've seen it pay off. I've seen it pay off in tangible results to help this community. When I was in college at City Tech, when I was a student government president, I had to work hard to get a degree in architecture, one of the most challenging majors, one of many challenging majors at my college. While being a student government president, it was not easy, right? Every day I had to wake up and be committed to service, helping people, and getting a degree because my parents wasn't playing that nonsense. So, it took me 7 years to graduate. It takes some 4, maybe 5, maybe 6. It took me 7. And I like to share that with people because we often get discouraged, right? But everybody's situation is different. My sister's graduated in 4 years. That's their story. But I graduated, right?
Right.
And hard work brought me there.
That's important. That's important. I think this whole story is important. The whole journey is important as a, as a beacon of light, as a way of people that's, people might not listen to me. Younger kids might not listen to me. I'm like uncle or dad, whatever, whatever they say nowadays. But they see you as a beacon of light, and I think that's dope. I saw that you had said once that you wanted to be an architect or sportsman, something in sports, and
Yes.
you ever wanted to be in politics. What are some of the components of architecture and building and stuff like that do you think that you could put in this job that you're looking to take on now?
Yo, I love that question because it is actually a direct connection, right? So one, studying architecture opened up my eyes to see that the world around us isn't just existing, that there's people who sit down in a room, in a space, and make decisions about our life, right? I learned that through architecture, not politics. And through architecture, I learned that politics also runs everything, right? You can't design a building, you can't build a building without knowing your Brooklyn Borough president, without going to your local community board, without knowing who your city council person is, your assembly. Like, you have to know the whole gambit. And so I started realizing, like, in school, that as a black man studying architecture, I could either be someone knocking on people's doors, begging them to help me do what I need to do to become that established black architect, or I could be someone opening doors for other black men and other black architects to have access, because there was nobody there providing that. And even with architecture, digging back a little bit more, I also went to Delaware State University for 2 years where I studied psychology, right? And understanding how the human mind thinks has also been a direct connection between architecture, psychology, into politics. Because as a future elected representative, you have to understand how people think, or else you're just going to be creating policies and not realizing how it may impact one community over another community, or why this person has a problem with it but this person doesn't. And so I'm excited about my wide range of experiences because it's truly practical information that I've learned, how to understand the housing crisis that's at play. When we talk about development, when we talk about building our communities, I learned a lot about that through studying architecture.
Architecture, wow. I never even thought about that connection like that, but that explanation is profound. Like you said, you can't even build a building without getting into politics. Politicians can't build a city without dealing with architects. So that is a hand in hand. And then you got psychology.
Yeah.
Before this, I don't want to jump the gun, but before this interview's over, we got to talk about what's next. I don't want to jump the gun and talk about, but come on, bro, you got it. I see where you're going right now because this is crazy.
I don't even know where I'm going.
No, you're not supposed to. You just on the ride. But as a visionary myself, and as somebody that's a little older than you, I can see it.
Yeah.
A lot of us can see it. You're not supposed to see it. You're not supposed to look at the scoreboard. You're just supposed to keep running it up. You know what I'm saying? But and we got your back out here. Explain to the people what a New York assemblyman does. Back it up a little bit. Let's explain to the people what a New York assemblyman does and take it from there.
Great. So in the psychology of the mindset, understanding that politics seems complicated, but we have a job as an elected official to make it make sense so that people can get involved and know why these things matter. An assemblyman, yes, is one of many, but I'm responsible. Every assemblyman is responsible for a district, right? So there's neighborhoods. Me, I'm East Flatbush, Brownsville, Canarsie. So my job in Albany with the governor is to make sure that as we spend money, that money, we feel it here in our communities. What does that look like? So every year, $200 billion gets allocated throughout the state to help our streets, to help our education system, to fund our hospital systems and things of that nature. So for instance, let's use an example. Nurses, right? We just came out of a pandemic. We know that nursing homes, we lost a lot of people unnecessarily because we had unsafe staffing ratios, which means we had more patients than we had nurses. My grandmother died because of that. Now, in the assembly, I can directly give funding to nursing homes and other establishments that support our older adults to ensure that they have the proper funding to hire as many staff as they need to ensure there's a better ratio, right? We could also, in the assembly, make it illegal to run a facility without certain staffing ratios that will ensure the safety of the patients, down to the building that the nursing home is in. We get a say in, as I mentioned, does it get built? Where does it get built? And how high does it go?
Okay. So that's okay.
So
Here, that's the policy matters with that. I see here it says setting levels for state spending. So that's the allocating the money where it needs to go part.
Right. Most importantly, we have access to funds to support initiatives and businesses in our communities. So also we get this thing called non-discretionary funding, which allows us to fund non-for-profit organizations and CBOs. So if you're one of those, you know, service focus driven people, and you created a non-for-profit, and say you're helping people who have learning abilities, right? You're tutoring students with learning abilities. As an assemblyman, I get funding that I can give to your non-for-profit to help more people who have learning disabilities, right? Or if your non-for-profit is a food pantry and you're out here making sure you're addressing food insecurity, make sure that you get funding to further you doing the work in the community to make sure our community is fed. Lastly, because it is a wide spectrum of things, we create policies, right? Laws. We actually create the laws. I'll use one for example that a lot of people are not great and happy with: speed cameras. Y'all know about the speed cameras that started popping up in our communities.
Right.
In the state assembly, you get a choice to say where they go, what time they're on and off, what is the speed limit that they get triggered on, right? Those are all laws and policies that get created in Albany. And I will be a seat at these tables speaking up and telling them what Brownsville, Canarsie, and East Flatbush wants.
That's dope. And your office, state assembly office for that district is where? Is it accessible? Is it something that is open to the people, but via email, via phone? I know it's a lot of things going on in the community, so it's hard to filter all of that. But how does that facilitate so people know how to get some of these things and sit at these tables?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually have two offices, which, again, as a 29-year-old, all of this is just like nuts. But I'm going to have a local office here in the community. All right, I have to win first. We will win. But once we get a district office, which is something that'll be local in East Flatbush, Brownsville, Canarsie, somewhere central. Right now, the outgoing assemblyman's office is on Utica between Snyder and Church, I think, right? So whether I'm there or find a new location, we will have one. We don't have one now. But the best way that people can get in contact with me is via email, which is get@HerculesReid.com. Very simple, get@HerculesReid.com. That is the best way to get in contact with me. And of course, on my social media, you can slide in my DMs and let me know what's going on and what you want to talk about.
Right. So I saw that you stand, some of the things that you stand on is transportation, handicap accessibility. I saw you had a situation happen with your leg. You can get into that if you want to, and it kind of turned you up on and noticing the needs for that. And education, right? So I did my homework, before, like I said, I always do my homework. I want to kind of pick those things apart if you can put them apart with me. I called my mother first because she said, I know she does accessorize, right? And I know she's big in politics. She's always at the local meetings, and she got a lot of garbage cans in Flatbush she's always so proud of, and she got this for us. So I called her, and her thing, she said she gives accessorize a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
And she digs it. She says it should be more accessible, and she thinks, like I said, this is my mother talking, 70-year-old woman, so she gives it straightforward. This is
right.
I'm giving you food for thought. And
That's
she
it.
said, you know, they need more steps. It needs to be more accessible. The guy will come and pick up across the street and be like, yo, mommy, come over here. And then, you know, she'll get her cane and she'll go over there and it won't be a steps. But she
Mm.
said if that was the case and it was more people that had respect and courtesy and steps, those three things, she said Accessoride would get a 10. So all I asked her was about the accessibility to handicap, and I know that was one of your things. What are some of your things about accessibility with handicap and handicap in New York City that's important to you?
Yeah, I mean, I was hit by a car in 2015. I was riding my bicycle. I was doing deliveries, and the car ran a red light. And so when that happened, you know, as they always say, my life changed. A couple of things happened. One, first time I knew what it felt like to not be able to help myself, where I had to legitimately rely on everybody but myself to help myself. My family, the doctors. I couldn't walk without assistance, without a cane, without crutches. And as someone who's been energetic and mobile since a baby, nothing was stopping me. Reality struck in. And we often feel fearless until that happens. And so, one, it woke me up. It woke me up to see that our streets are not safe. They're not safe for drivers. They're not safe for people who walk. They're not safe for people who are disabled. And we need to do more to make our streets safer. But it also brought me to realize that, you know, just like I felt hopeless, I can imagine the people who have to deal with this 24/7 and how their life must be impacted. I think about the B8, right, that runs through my community, where I walk from Newkirk all the way to 46 and can beat a bus. That's like a 15, 18-minute walk, right? I'm good because thank God I can still walk. But what about grandma? What about
Yeah.
grandpa? What
Oh,
about him
my mom, yeah.
that's sitting there waiting for their accessoride, sitting there waiting for the bus to get home, right? You got places like Walgreens that people use for their prescriptions that they just closed the only Walgreens in my area. Now grandma and grandpa gotta go hop on accessoride or hop on the bus to go to the nearest pharmacy miles away. So accessibility is so important because especially in my community, again, we're talking about people who have come from a different land that came here to build what they have, now struggling, right? Accessibility matters to all of us, from the young to the old. And
Yeah.
so even as I studied architecture, right, I learned about ADA and how that was actually created, and architects had to start designing buildings to be accessibility oriented, right? And now there's laws on the book that you cannot build outside of ADA compliance. And so
Wow.
these are the spaces that I'll be looking at. You know, Accessoride is, I think, something definitely funded by the state. And so
Isn't it?
if I remember correctly,
But
um,
let me ask you a quick question though. So it's funded by the state, but this is still something that, as a local assemblyman, this is part of something that you have say so over, whether it's budget or policy in that regards, kind of just like the nursing home or something like that as
yeah,
well.
yes.
Okay, okay, good.
Think about it like this as well, right? The federal government funds the states, and the states fund the city, right? So anything
Gotcha.
at the city level, anything comes from the state at some
Gotcha.
juncture. We have some say, some sway, something that we can control the narrative of what then happens at the city level.
So that 200 billion comes from the Fed. The Fed gives that to the state, and that trickles down to New York City, Buffalo, Albany,
Yeah,
Charlotte, all these different places, pretty much, right?
yeah, essentially the feds and taxes, between the federal government and our tax system, you know, housing taxes, sale taxes, you name the tax, all of that comes back into the government at the state level to then funnel back into the people. We call that public funds, right? And this is another issue where we've had elected officials you sent spending our money, our hard-earned tax dollars,
Talk about it.
getting anything from it. We're not getting no results. We're not getting no real support. And that's why I'm going to be the resource man when I'm in Albany, making sure that we bring resources back to this community because it is our money anyways already.
That's a fact. That's a fact. You touched on the handicap accessibility. You touched a little bit on transportation. education. I know, I think I seen somewhere, I seen you say that your mom was a special education teacher,
Yeah.
your sister and my dad is retired, and my sister's a special education teacher. What's your angle on education? What's needed? Where do we start? Where do we go? Like, how do you feel? What do you grade it right now, actually?
Oh, terrible. I mean, our public
Terrible.
system is failing our young people every day. And it's unfortunate. And so, if I may, this is one of my bread and butter issues, as I say, because I believe that education is the greatest equalizer, and education is, which then makes education key. So I'm going to go backwards to go forward. Think about slavery, right? During slave times, what was it that they stopped us from being able to do other than work? They stopped learning how to read, write, and learn, to be educated, right? Because they knew once we were educated, we could help ourselves, we'd feel empowered, and we'd be great. And they were afraid of what greatness would look like. So now think about this. It's 2022. We have young people leaving our school systems at very low reading levels, very low writing levels, very low math levels. What do you think is psychologically going on with them? They feel powerless because they don't feel that they can understand the world around them, right? And so what then happens, right? They look for power. Sometimes that comes in the form of a gun. Sometimes that comes in the form of bad company, right? That then turns into something else. But we have to think about these things, right? We're not putting these puzzle pieces together. It stems from a child not feeling adequate. I was that child once. I didn't feel smart when I went to school. I hated it. I hated that my mom was a teacher. I hated that my Caribbean parents would not give me an out. I tried to go to the military. I tried a lot of things. I wanted to go into track and field to steer away and at least maybe have them pay for it. But, you know, now I'm sitting on a bachelor's and associate's degree, and I can speak to the value of having it. But that brings me to the point that everybody is not meant for a college experience. Maybe not right away, maybe eventually. So what are we doing to create a space for those who aren't ready to go to college? So I'm going to be fighting for trades and vocational programs. But that is an option that worked for my dad, for instance. He was a carpenter. He didn't go to school until later on in life and get a degree. But he spent 32 years using his hands to feed his family. And so we want to give that exposure to more people. And then when I think back to the special education part, I think that we have to understand that everybody learns differently. And I don't think that our school system is set up to cater to that. What does that mean? I'm left-handed. So automatically, I'm the oddball in my class. My scissors aren't ready for me. My pencil and my desk is on the right side. So every time I'm writing, my hand is falling off. Little things that really, as a kid, make a big difference. But then you have to think, somebody who's left-handed also learns and thinks differently with the opposite side of their brain. I didn't understand this until I studied psychology in college, right? So one, understanding that people have different learning abilities and catering to them is important. And that's something I'm going to be focused on. And lastly, when I think about how people learn, there's a spectrum, right? I am a visual learner and a hands-on learner. I'm not an auditory, and I'm not, I forgot the one where you write, right? So everything in school is geared towards people who are good at reading and writing. Think about
That's me. That's me, bro. You're right. You're right.
So people like you and I, we were always the ones not doing that well in certain spaces because they
thinking visually, looking out the window, wanting to be outside in the grass. You're gonna teach me about grass, take me to the grass.
Experiential learning, my brother.
Yeah.
So that's something, kinesthetic. Thank you, sir. That is something that I want to focus on at a young age, making sure young people know what their learning abilities are, and as well as the educators, so that we can cater to their needs. Otherwise, we're going to keep having that cycle of young people feeling powerless.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's dope, man. You know, I'm still thinking about the fact that, you know, when I asked you what were some of the points of architecture that you would put into your new position, being an architect, and you put that together so eloquently. Only a visionary thinker could put that together. So to stifle that mind is to really stifle. I know it sounds like cliche, but it's like to stifle the future, because that's really like that would that's genius, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
That's genius.
yeah.
So you worked with Eric Adams for a good little while at Brooklyn
Bro,
Borough President.
yeah.
How do you feel about with Eric Adams so far? Like, how would you? I know that's your boy, so you can't, your boss or your boy. I'm not sure, so But honestly, we still all New Yorkers, and we still have a say so. I think he's doing okay. I know he's probably just getting warmed up. I know he probably got a lot of tricks up his sleeves. But how do you feel?
Yeah. So first and foremost, what do I consider Mayor Adams, which I have a hard time saying because I call him Eric.
That's my bad too, Mayor
Um,
Adams. Honorable.
he to me is like an uncle, right? It became like a family experience for me. And let me explain what that looks like. So I met Mayor Adams, when I was at City Tech and I became the student government president. At the time, I was not involved. I wasn't even really voting, really, but I was on my beginning. He used to go to City Tech. He's an alum of City Tech, so he would often come by. And at the time, he was the Brooklyn Borough president, so they would also invite him. And he had met me, and he was like, I heard a lot of good things about you, young man. Keep up the fight. Stay committed to service. You'll be great. And he gave me his cell phone number. Fast forward, I had never used it. I was like, I don't even know who he is. I feel like I'm not supposed to really use his phone number. 2015 came. Donald Trump released the Muslim ban, and a student from the graduate center was stuck in Iran. Actually went home for the holidays. And people came to me as the legislative vice chair and said, Hercules, you represent all of us. What are we going to do? And I was like, I don't know. This is a federal matter. I'm a student, barely with any authority. I don't know what to do. I called Eric Borough President Adams because he was the only politician's number I had. I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. They're looking for support. They're looking for help. I don't know what to do. And he literally answered the phone and was like, look, if you could organize a press conference in like 48 hours, I'll give you my platform. And that way we can build exposure to this story. And so in 48 hours, I organized the entire thing, brought the students, the lawyers, the faculty, and he put out a media release. We're in front of the federal courthouse in Brooklyn and Cadman Plaza Park having a press conference. A week later, we figure out a way to bring that young lady home from Iran to continue her education. Mayor Adams did that for me, a young black man.
Right.
Moving forward, when I got out of college, I decided to run for city council in 2019 because Jamani Williams went on to be the public advocate, and there was an opportunity in the community. This was the second time I called Mayor Adams, like years later, mind you. This is years later. Second time. He answers the phone. I said, look, I'm running for office. I would love your support. You're somebody that I've been watching over the years. He's like, look, I can't help you, but because I'm already supporting someone, but I'm going to connect you to this young lady. She's young. She's on the up and coming. Y'all should meet, and, maybe she could work with you as you build. That young lady then was the reason I ending up at Borough Hall, because after my city council race, they were looking for someone to fill a void in the deputy borough president's unit. And Brianna said, what about Hercules? I met this young man. He's on fire. Let's give him a chance. And so they opened their doors wide open for me. And just a little tidbit, that wasn't the first place I looked for a job. I actually went to Nick Perry's office, my local assemblyman. I went to my local councilwoman. I went to Jamani, right? Because these were the people I knew a little bit more. These were people that were more local to where I was looking to run. But none of that turned around in time. And I had rent to pay, right? And so I ended up at Brooklyn Borough Hall. And ever since I got there, he gave me nothing but an opportunity, right? Anytime there was a meeting, I wanted to be in it, he let me sit in and then would let me speak if I needed to say an idea or something. If there was an event, he would put me on it, say, I want you to host this. The 400 years of slavery that passed, he put me in charge of organizing that event for Borough Hall, right? He made me organize young people from high schools during that whole environmental march season that was happening, right? He empowered me to do so many different things, to speak on his behalf when he couldn't make it somewhere. And so along the journey, I was working for somebody that didn't stifle my growth and that actually empowered me to go and do more. And then when COVID came, and I'm sorry this seems like a long story, but I think it's important.
No, I think it's very important.
When COVID hit and everybody was working from home, I said, you know, I remember him saying to us, he's like, I'm not going to quit on my people. I'm going to be out there, but y'all can work from home because that's what was mandated. And I saw him outside literally on his own, driving himself around, helping people. And I saw an opportunity to help. So I became his driver from all of 2020 up until he basically started running for mayor in 2021. I was driving Mayor Adams, the future Mayor Adams, around Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Staten Island. We were going in and out of NYS, giving out masks. We were in Borough Hall, just me and him. You know, holding masks, putting them in bags, putting them together, getting them out to community boards, getting them out to churches, showing up to food pantries. Just me and him, like Batman and Robin. You know, and I'm just a driver. So I'm also living an experience I never anticipated. But he gave me that opportunity. And I remember he said, look, one day you're going to look back at this and you're going to have learned a lot from being here on the ground and experiencing this. So he was like a mentor to me along this journey.
You're gonna ask you, would you consider him to be a mentor, especially during the driving days?
Right. Then his campaign rolled around. Young kid like me, I never had an opportunity to work on a mayor's campaign. The most I got close to it was I was a free volunteer to give out somebody's palm cards for Bill de Blasio, right? This man said, I want you on my staff. He's like, we've rolled around the city together. I know your work. I know your commitment. I want to hire you to ride around with me and help me win this campaign. Again, empowered me to see something I didn't see in myself. And I was his advanced body person. So everywhere you saw him, I was there before him, setting up the space, the microphone for the press conferences, making sure everything looked good, organizing volunteers, elected officials, and making sure that when he got there, because I knew how he liked things, everything was set up. He could come in, do his thing, and bounce to the next event. Then he won. Who knew, right? Like, how are you supposed to know who's going to win until they win? Now he wins, and he's like, I want you to come over to City Hall with me. We need a hardworking young man that's committed to the community. And I was there for a couple of months until I decided I got to run for office myself. It's time for me to spread my wings and fly. So did Mayor Adams come back around and endorse me? Hell yes, he did.
Yes, of course he would. He endorsed you from day one.
Exactly.
He endorsed you from day one.
And so when it comes to like the whole policy thing and where do I stand on how he's doing, you know, I see things from a totally different lens. Remember, I was on the inside. I've seen this man get teared down for things he didn't do. I've seen the media attack him and spin narratives. When he said literally ABC, the media would turn around and say CBA. Eric just said CBA when I just literally heard him say ABC, right? And so when we talk about how us in Black America are facing a world that sometimes is blind to us, and when we're on the receiving end, we can't see what is really going on. So I see both sides because I was also on the outside banging on electeds' doors like his saying, I need resources.
And you got a fresh set of eyes, though. A lot of times people are on the inside, they think they're looking from the outside in, but they've been around so long, these eyes are tainted. Like you could come right in, and that's something I was going to ask you. Like, other than Mayor Adams, how are some of the older politicians, are they embracing this new young, you know what I'm saying, what this new young politician looks like, quote unquote politician? Because you just they're not.
No, I'm gonna be straight up, bro. I'm gonna be straight up because it's important. They, you know, people, as they say, they want something. They say they want it out loud, and that's the issue with a lot of our politicians. They talk a lot. They say things, but they don't really mean it, and they don't follow up, right? So I'm running for office. I'm 29 years old, right? When I ran for city council, I was 27 years old. I believe that when I was 27, they told me I was too young. And as I'm now 29, with a whole breadth of experiences, they're still trying to tell me, wait my turn. How is that at all supporting young leaders and young next generations? They are in a space where us young people are saying, we don't really care about your approval anymore. We're coming regardless. We're kicking the door down. And I like to share with people, I'm as serious about this seat as I was ready to run for the seat, whether the former assemblyman was there or not, right? Because the community needed new representation. You know, good thing for him. He got a nice next opportunity. But I was ready because they weren't going to give it to me. You know, this is, and what they do is they say, hey, you know, come work for us. You know, we'll mentor you. You got people working for these electeds for years, being mentored, sitting on the sidelines still.
Trying to pin that comment there. I hear you, bro. Like, I think it's important. I think everybody says that. We always say that, especially at the top. Like, these faces are all the same old faces. So this is how it comes up and brings a breath of fresh air to the top, man.
And if I may, they want us for our labor and our skills, but they don't want us for anything else.
But it goes back to, like you said, from the slave times. You read it right, you know, whole new things happen. It's a whole new liberation. It's a whole new mindset. And that mindset is also contagious.
Yes.
You know, I always say that. So somebody see you and it's just, without you even speaking to them, you know, they're inspired by that. You know, I was watching a thing with Mike Tyson the other day. He was in jail, like a juvenile detention center. He said he had a glimpse of Muhammad Ali in the room, and that's what inspired him to box. So stuff like that, you know, it's inspiring, bro. And I know you're reaching them. I got a lot of brothers that, you know, in the community in Flatbush. Here we are, Flatbush. We do a lot in the community. We always in the community. So this is definitely not the last conversation we're gonna have for the live, behind the scene. You know, hit you with all our numbers, all that information. I got your email here. What's one of your first experiences? One of your first memories of Flatbush? What's one of your first thoughts of Flatbush, or what's something that comes to your mind instantly when you think of Flatbush? And you live here now, so that's your home. But give me the first thoughts that bring you back.
Riding around and seeing the jerk chicken pans with the smoke coming out. That's, I mean, till this day, right? It's still a scene, it's still a view, it's still a smell. And again, as someone, you know, that's Jamaican, and I go to Jamaica at least once a year, every 2 years or whatever, you know, it's like there's Jamaica, but here's Brooklyn, and it's like not that different, minus the dirt on the road. One is paved and one is dirt roads that I'm used to. And then lastly, you know, childhood experiences of coming out here for the Labor Day parade. And, you know, my dad, as I said, he was a part of the Carpenters Union Local 157, and they used to march in the parade every year. So he would always take us with him and bring us right into the parade. And we would march up and down the parkway, you know, and I always remember those moments, man. And that's what I say when I was like, man, Brooklyn, I was like, yeah, this is it.
Hold up, though. So I just thought about it. You said parade. So, like, what's going on with the parade? One, I don't know if it's like dying down. We need new energy with the parade. Like, what's going on? Is the people that don't want to close, is the violence? But you also, that has a budget, obviously, as well, too. Does that go down to the borough president office does the parade, correct?
No, it's a city permitted event.
Okay.
Borough president has a say, as do the local elected officials, absolutely. But the city has the final say, the mayor. And so the last years that they got canceled, it was the mayor's doing, Mayor Bill de Blasio. But we got a black mayor now, and he understands the vibes. And so he already said, I'm gonna see y'all on the Parkway.
Okay.
So it's back this year.
Okay.
But I'm glad we are talking about that, because as I look to represent the state, people have to understand that arts and culture conversation, right? Two pieces, one on the education front. Arts and culture, we need to bring it back into our schools and make sure our kids have exposure to arts and culture. They took away a lot of funding over the years. They took a lot of programming away, but it's directly a way that our people express themselves and also become entrepreneurs, from music to painting to writing to, you know, dancing, you name the art, and our people excel at it. And so I'm going to be fighting to bring arts and culture and make sure that there's more funding for these programs in our schools for our young people.
And even outside of school, too, in the community, because the culture to me in New York is there as far as like museum and everybody's Chinatown, this town, we got Flatbush, we got all these different areas and communities. But I think the bridges that that bridge those gaps, you know what I'm saying, is what gets it there. What can we do to get some young kids from Flatbush, from East Flatbush, into the Met and have some exhibits there, or for kids from here going there? I
Right.
think those are super
Getting
important.
on buses, experiential learning, going back to the experiential learning piece. People don't leave the neighborhood. And I'm going to make sure that young people get that experiential learning. I know what it did for me. And so you have the education piece. The other part is revenue. Art creates one of the largest revenue sources in New York State, and yet is one of the most underfunded agencies and spaces in the entire budget. How does one make sense over the other? We're making the city money and the state money, but we're not putting funding into it to make it bolster more activity and opportunities. Right. So when I look at running for office, I think about these common sense, basic things that it just doesn't make sense. Why are we not doing it? Why are we not investing in the true future of our communities?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you're there. People see it, but nobody says things. Nobody's in the space that you're in to make things happen. And like I said before, brother, we proud of you. We support you. Our doors, our emails, everything is always open. I see your water is running down like mine. I ain't gonna hold you, man. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you, though, King.
Yes,
Definitely,
yes,
man.
yes.
Sky's not the limit, man. It's further than that.
Sky's the limit, as they say. And
Leave us on a Hercules Reid note, whatever it is, man. The mic is yours.
look, man, I never know what to say in these moments because I'm truly living one day at a time. I want people to understand that we're in this together. I'm running for office because we've gone too far away from understanding that this is about humanity. No matter how much you like or don't like the next person, they're there. They're gonna be there, and we have to do more to educate our communities on what living together with people looks like. We have to do more to educate our communities on why it matters to be involved. And we have to educate our communities on why it's important to see that you belong to something bigger than yourself. I am here today at 29 years old because my parents took no expense to invest into me. But we don't need any more lucky Herculeses or lucky individuals who need, and I'm fighting for a new reality where everybody has almost the same starting place. And that if they decide to not take advantage of those resources and those opportunities, let that be on them and we deal with that accordingly. But let's give everybody the same opportunities once and for all. We've seen the data, we know the information, we know the history. I'm running to be the next generation of leaders to bring these ideas and these visions forward. But I can't do this alone. I'm only one man, and even when I win, I still need the community. And very often people say, oh, when you get into politics, don't go into this and don't do that. The only way that works, and I'm not even there yet, but I can tell as someone who understands this game, the only way that you can keep your elected official grounded is if you support him or her the whole way through. You vote for them, you donate to them, you show up to their town halls, you speak up, you join them on their journey to serve. Because it's when people feel that they need more help that they start to look outside the community for those resources. So I'm coming to this community and saying, let's continue to change these narratives. Let's support each other. Let's work together. I need you now. I need you later. Don't sit there and say, my mans, you got this. Because that's exactly how we feel as a community. We need to put our mouths where our mind and our energy is at. We need to go out there and vote. We need to tell our aunties, uncles, grandparents, cousins, brothers, and sisters that live in East Flatbush, Brownsville, and Canarsie. If you got to go drive there and walk them to the poll, you need to do that. That's how we win. I don't just win this. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to win. So it's going to take your efforts, my efforts, in order for us to get there. And so on that note, this was another opportunity, my brother. We are Flatbush, that you are now putting, you know, your ideas of support where your mouth and your mind is by giving me this platform. So I say thank you for the exposure to your audience. And with that, you know, I'm only here really to hopefully inspire people. You know, the rest.
I think you did. I see all the fire emojis. I see, you know, you can't help but to inspire people, man.
Yeah.
One way in this segment, man, it's definitely appreciated, man. I'm gonna definitely hit you up. We're gonna definitely reach out, man. We're gonna definitely keep some things going. Like I said, we got a lot of brothers in the community all over Flatbush that, you know, doing a lot of things in the community that need a couple of gaps bridged.
One last thing. We are looking for volunteers. Okay, we are looking for people to get involved right now on the ground. What does that look like? We have to continue to knock on doors and speak to voters and let them know that there's an election, which is another conversation around education, civic education, and that they should vote for Hercules, right? And we need numbers to get to the people. And so if you have an hour, 2 hours to spare, this is something that is so worthy of that time. So I'm asking you to come out and join us any day between tomorrow and the 28th. Okay, any day, anytime. Trust me, we'll find something for you to do. So if you can hit me up in my DM, Hercules_Reid, or you can email me at get@herculesreid.com. I'll type it in the chat just so you know.
And real quick on the volunteer tip, we got a lot of youth out here. Can the youth volunteer? Like under 18, 15, 18 bracket? That's too young.
100%.
All right, cool.
This is their community too.
Cool. That's
And
one
actually the best time is now for the young people to start.
Gotcha. I'm got a couple of things I'm thinking right now, man. I'm gonna hit you up in a sec.
Sounds good.
Yo, appreciate you, man.
My brother.
We are Flatbush, man.
All right. Have a good night.